Hello and welcome back to Second Take Movies, the podcast where we give movies a second look, a second chance, a second take, if you will. I'm your host, Preston Jenkinson, and joining me for the very first time on this podcast is Bobby Dubose. Today we're talking about the latest Mortal Kombat movie that was released last year on HBO, and well, it was released in theaters and on HBO Max, but
mostly on YouTube before they were released to theater.
Pretty much, yeah. The story is MMA fighter Cole Young, who I did not like, seeks out Earth's greatest champions in order to stand against the enemies of Outworld in a high-stakes battle for the universe. And before we get into it, we like to start with a positive and a negative review. John Olekinski of the New York Post says the action in this film is as unpretentious as Charlie Sheen eating a Krispy Kreme donut at Six Flags. In short, blissfully dumb entertainment. The negative review comes to us from Bill Gutekunst from the Arizona Republic, who says, in fairness, you can say that Mortal Kombat is pretty much exactly what you expect it to be. It's clearly meant as the first film in a renewed franchise, but for me, it's game over. I don't know about you, but I think this should have been a Scorpion and a Sub-Zero movie.
Yes. I think it should have been more involved with the two characters.
Yeah.
I think it should have been like where they originally came from, kind of like a clash in between, and then showing how they transitioned to like towards the end, towards that final fight. Then go back and make the second movie where you get more involved in those different segments.
Because there's actually an animated movie on HBO Max.
Like NetherRealm or something like that?
Yes, it's like, that's pretty much the story of that. It shows like Scorpion is deceived to think that Sub-Zero killed his family by, I think, who was it? Quan Chi?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
The sorcerer.
Yeah, who is in disguise as something else, but he gets sent down to hell. But that's how this movie starts out, is Sub-Zero and we have no backstory, no reason why Sub-Zero kills, other than I just assume he's been corrupted by the leader of Outworld.
Yeah.
At this point,
it's just basically like, hey, I'm just here to kill you and your family, and then let's start the movie now. Yeah,
and all he says is for the Lin Kuei, which Mortal Kombat fans know that's like his clan, and
right.
What is Scorpion's like?
I don't remember. I remember playing on the game
Sha Ryu or something like that.
Like you go into like the movies and they had like the arcades, and like if you weren't putting your coins in, it would keep bringing up the characters' backstories and stuff. But I don't remember where that came from.
And a lot better choreography in these movies than in the previous two that came out in the 90s.
Well, the original, I still think the original one's like the classic, like the beginning of it. Like I still love that movie, but Annihilation, I mean, any choreography is going to be better than that.
They just threw that movie together real quick.
Yeah. That was, anything's better than that one.
Yeah. What I really love is like Sub-Zero's, like the way they show his power of like the ice that they have that builds up and the sound of it and just the way that it builds up off his hand.
Or how he controls it too. Like it's more versus him just making like an ice clone or whatever. Yeah. You're actually seeing him just like playing with it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And so violence ensues because Scorpion's gone down to get some water. Comes back and sees that Sub-Zero has frozen his family into a husk on the ground, and he just kills everybody that came with Sub-Zero.
Right.
And then they have their big face off, and and Sub-Zero eventually gets the best of Scorpion and kills him. And Scorpion just looks at him and says, "Remember this face." And then, but we find out that when Lord Raiden shows up, there was a baby left behind.
Right.
And it's like, that's where we get Cole from.
I think, for one, the fight scene with like the goons, I guess is what you would, goon squad or his men or whatever, that part was like really cool. Like you see him using like the harpoon, but you just killed my family. And to me, I kind of look at the way that fight scene, there should have been a lot more emotion to that.
Yeah.
Like there's that battle should have been a lot more involved, not just a couple punches, a stab to the gut, and then a stab to the top shoulder to like kill him.
Right.
Like heart's over here, bro.
Yeah.
Not over here on the right shoulder. And then just to like, you're not going to bleed out that quick from that type of wound.
Right.
And I think there should have been more emotion to that.
Yeah. What I hate about these types of movies is they'll have, because as soon as all that ends, it cuts to just a screen with text on it that just tells us about there's a prophecy of the bloodline of Scorpion will return, and that Earth has to win this. Well, no, Outworld has won the last 9 tournaments, however long those have been.
Right.
And they win the 10th one, they get to invade Earthrealm. Which, if they just waited a couple scenes, we got all of that without the need for that text on screen.
Right.
They basically spell that out the first time we go to Outworld.
Well, and I mean, I think anybody that watched Mortal Kombat, I think most people that watch Mortal Kombat have either, like, I grew up playing Mortal Kombat. Mm-hmm. Well, I stopped playing really after the 3rd one. Like, I remember playing 1, 2, and 3. So, you know, me, I was already a fan. I even bought the motion soundtracks for both the first one and Annihilation. So, I mean, I was super stoked. I was like, oh, yeah, another Mortal Kombat. They even came out with the webisodes. Mm-hmm. Watched those. Yeah. And so, I mean, I was really excited. And then they started releasing on YouTube. I was just like, oh.
But again, we meet up with this character of Cole, who is just the most bland. Mm-hmm. You have this whole roster of fighters to choose from the games, and you use this guy, you create this guy as like an audience surrogate, like we're seeing this world through his eyes, but you could have picked anybody else.
You got like MMA fighters too, or even more people, like even from other movies that you could have put in there as a different character that would just, I don't know, like even when he finally gets his power, I'm like, man, what'd you do? Copy this off of
it is so weak.
What is it? Aquaman.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's his Arcana or whatever they call it in the movie is terrible.
Yeah.
It's just a suit of armor that comes around and it builds up energy. Basically a ripoff of Black Panther as well. But and he talks about, he's an MMA fighter who's down on his luck. Apparently he used to be pretty good. And he's doing fights for $200. I could find anything else better to do.
So you sell plasma for $95,
right? Like
go back, 3 days?
Yeah, like, and because apparently he's just a guy that gets beat up now for these new up and coming guys that come through, and that's in one of these fights is where Jax finds him, because we find out later that the way that the champions for the different realms are chosen is they have a birthmark. And he's just had it. Cole is special because he's had it his whole life, because it was passed down from Scorpion through his family, and that's basically what Jax tells him.
Didn't they? And they didn't have birthmarks in the first one. They didn't start doing that until Annihilation. Because remember, they kept every time the weak ones would die, they would get up and scream and haul ass.
Yeah, I don't even think they do that in the games. Like they didn't really get into like real story stuff until like 8 or 9 in the games. With that, because there's like 3 different versions of Sub-Zero and all kind of crazy stuff. The shot of, because after we meet Jax, that's when I keep forgetting the leader of Outworld, Shang Tsung. He sends Sub-Zero after Cole, and then Jax finds him, and then they run away from this restaurant where Sub-Zero attacks him, and they go to this warehouse. That is one of the best scenes in this movie. I should have looked up the actor that played.
I looked him.
I've seen him in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think he's always played. I wouldn't say extras, but I guess it would be an extra.
Yeah,
like I think he is a fighter. I saw it on when I was watching it earlier. He does have he is a fighter back. He does have a fighter background. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think he was the way they picked a very good Sub-Zero.
Yeah,
like the character that they picked, I was really impressed with. Like I liked him. I've seen him in other stuff. I liked him. The warehouse scene though, I was like, when I saw it on the trailer, I was like, that's gonna be fucking awesome. And then like when he throws the bullets right in front of his face, I'm like, That is cool.
They knew that was going to be in the trailer when they shot that.
The only thing I didn't like was the fact that you went into when they went into the warehouse. Like I would have expected it to not look like a frozen world. Like you're gonna fight for.
Yeah.
You've been in there for how long, and the whole warehouse looks like a friggin' like spider nest cocoon of ice type thing, I guess.
Yeah, because Jax is out there with a shotgun, and he tells Cole and his family to take off to Gary, Indiana, or whatever.
Yeah.
And Sub-Zero just like swoops into the building, and like 2 minutes later, it's an ice palace.
Right. It's like, yeah, that's whatever. I could look past that, but yeah, that fight was.
He did turn rain into snow and ice, but there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie. So after we get that, we meet up with Sonya Blade. Mm-hmm. Cole finds his way to Sonya Blade, who's been researching all this stuff, and again, we get the exactly what that text told us. We get all of that from her. I will always prefer exposition to text on screen telling me what's happening.
Right. Then it goes back to what I said earlier. Everybody that watched that movie already knew.
We already knew this stuff,
right.
But this is just kind of explaining it to somebody new that just probably just turned this on or whatever. But because you've always got to keep those people in mind that just turned this on. But a lot of people watching this know Mortal Kombat. We know what's up.
Yep.
And she's got Kano tied up in her closet.
Kano, another one.
Yeah.
They did a phenomenal job on Kano. Loved Kano. And I mean, I like psycho humor anyways, just because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
And the guy that they got for Kano was...
He did a great job at it.
Especially with the little heart. He was like, oh, yeah.
Kano wins. The champions of Outworld basically are Earth realm are supposed to find their way to Raiden. Sounds like Raiden's slipping on the job. Mm-hmm. If this is Earth's last chance, if I was Raiden, I would be like just snatch everybody up and bring them all to the temple if it's such a huge deal.
Right.
This doesn't make sense.
Well, again, I think too. I think he wanted with the other 9, from what I remember, the Outworld they cheated the other 9 anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think on this one, and even I don't remember in the first one. The first one, I think he went looking for him. Like with Christopher Lambert, he went looking for him. Yeah. But I think what he was wanting more was the desire to win.
Yeah.
I think that's like, all right, you made it, and then you see like Cole going, yeah, I don't have anything left if my family dies anyways, you know.
Yeah, because if they can't develop their powers, they're not really going to survive the tournament.
I think he was looking for strength within, with them coming there versus him going to pick them up.
That makes sense. So that kind of brings back the birthmarks because Kano has a birthmark that because basically the way the birthmarks or the marks transfer is you kill a person with a mark, you get that mark,
right, and
then you get some power at some point,
right. But you also had the ones that were born with it. An example, Cole.
Yeah. But
then you had, and I think Liu Kang also acquired his from killing, or he was given his power from someone.
Yeah.
So
because he was actually, I think they said he was raised. Was he raised by Raiden?
No, he was raised by, I guess, the people that were under Raiden.
Yeah, like the people that lived in that temple. Or
right. He was taken in. I guess he was like on the streets, or he was, I guess, a foster or whatever. Yeah. And they found him, or he found them, and then they brought him up.
And typically in most stories about the actual tournament, Liu Kang is always usually the one that wins it.
Yeah.
And saves Earthrealm, and he becomes more powerful, and it gets into those, like some weird...
Right.
Weird stuff. I love the sweep kick reference that when they all start training and Kano and Sonya or Liu Kang and Kano are fighting, and just like everybody did back in the day in the old game, you just keep
or the
low
over kick.
Yeah.
You get pissed off because you're like, I can't do nothing.
Yeah. I forgot about Reptile. Reptile shows up.
Yeah, I figured that was because they were saying the reptilians, and they did it in the second one too. Because remember, they sent the reptilians in, and then when he goes into like the fallen statue corpse, he then becomes Reptile.
Yeah,
or is that? No, that's the second one.
I just remember when they first introduced him a long time ago, he was just another green ninja,
right?
And now he's just a full-on lizard,
right? Because you had like Ermac and Rain and New Cybot, and before they started branching off,
and that's who Kano like reaches in and snatches his heart out. That's how they do that, and then they make a deal. Then they end up in the desert, and that's where they run into Liu Kang, was raised. We get that whole backstory, and then wouldn't you know it, all the champions of Outworld found where they're at, and they're trying to kill him again. Who are these elder gods, and why? How can they not keep Outworld from cheating so much?
It almost reminds me of like Marvel, like with the Eternals.
Yeah.
It almost looks like that. Like I
just talked about that one last week.
They see it and you're like, yeah, we see this. We're just gonna let them keep poking the bear. It's cool. It's entertainment. It's kind of like our version of Real World.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We don't want to affect this because it's going to be fun, but we'll just watch.
Oh, these are real people going through a traumatic thing. Oh, it's because there's a screen between us. It doesn't affect us at all. So the big thing throughout their whole training is they're trying to have their Arcana come out. Well, before that, let's go back. Because they attack, and then, they don't really attack. They just show up, and then Raiden puts up a force field.
It was more a show of aggression. Let's see if these fighters are going to just...
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and
Sub-Zero just gives Cole a knowing look like he knows anything about who he is. I mean...
Or it's like that, kind of like how the I guess like in Star Wars, like I can tell like you have this force about you. Ooh. Yeah, you're gonna be that fucker. Mm-hmm.
There's a guy. Which another way I guess you could fix this, since Scorpion is in hell and that's where he's developing, have him possess Cole or just show up in Cole and make him think, like, am I going crazy? Who's this Japanese guy in my head? I
mean, and that could be the thing. I mean, it never really goes...
There's hints of that. Like, there's flashes of Scorpion.
Like, he has it, but the question is like, can Sub-Zero tell? You know, can he sense that the power is there, or can he sense there's something about him?
Yeah.
But you never really get... in any point in the movie that he knew anything. It was just like, all right, this is just another guy that I'm going to end up fighting. And, you know, it's not until the end that he realizes when he sees like to me it looks like a garden shovel.
That's all it was. It's like a little garden trowel.
Yeah, it's not even like a harpoon. It's just like a little... So, you know, it's not until the end that he goes, uh-oh.
He's like, oh, that's the blade of...
Yeah.
So Hasanshi, or no... I'm not going to try and pronounce the name. Hanzo Hisashi, that's the name.
Yeah.
And so we get, the long training montage, and we want everybody to learn their Arcana because we got to... And then Kung Lao shows up. That's right. That's one of my favorite characters from the game.
He was always cool. It was just always weird to fight with him because it's like his buttons or trying to get him to do stuff was kind of weird.
Him and Raiden, because like always... you just had to learn how to teleport or Raiden just to win anything.
Or that where he'd go and go across the screen and like hit you.
And that's what I love about the new games is they basically kept those same controls for every character, or at least every original character through all the games. Like so, Raiden is still like it's like a down, back or something like that. I don't know.
I just kept hitting buttons.
Yeah.
All these buttons work.
Because, like, now you try to do, like, a fatality and you've got to bring up the move list and, like, that's too many buttons. We go through all that. When you know it, Kano's the first to get his thing. And, his eye tearing out is, like, teased through the whole thing because Reptile scratches him and it's like, oh, did he lose his eye? No, he didn't. When's he going to lose his eye? He doesn't.
Nope.
He does get the laser eye, though.
I thought it was cool. Like, it looked better than the metal glowing thing from the first one.
Yeah, it was just like a metal plate in his head.
It didn't do anything. It was just there.
Jax is in this movie as well. Is that his name, Jax?
Jackson Briggs.
Jackson Briggs. Sub-Zero tore off his arms, as one does. And then they mention, like, and they're putting his arms back together, but they're like, we've got all this technology and stuff from all the different realms, and it's like skinny little metal arms. I'm like, that's
strong hands.
That's the best. You've got access to all this stuff, and that's to all these realms and different worlds, and that's the best you've got.
They wanted him to get his Arcana or whatever.
Yeah, which I
thought that was the dumbest thing anyway.
For him to have his, like, so if he didn't lose his arms, he wouldn't get metal arms?
Right. So he was just going to show up. Was he going to just get beefier?
Right.
He's going to turn into Michael Jai White all of a sudden. Just like,
That guy's, now the actor they had playing Jax is pretty much the same size, if not bigger than Michael Jai White.
I don't know. I had to get a comparison. Like,
I think they should have cast him for.
They did in the
Yeah, because he was in the web series.
Yeah, in the webisodes, because he was originally, because he went in to go speak with because he was talking about like the different ones, like Reptile and the dude that basically turned into Baraka.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes in, he's talking to Scorpion, and you see how like Scorpion's got like the dead eyes. And
yeah,
he's like a smaller dude. And then he's like, I guess, call me Scorpion at the end. I think he would have been like really good as Briggs or Jax.
Yeah.
I think that would, but they probably couldn't afford it.
And Sonya Blade, I don't know if we mentioned this already, but Sonya Blade is the only one of these people that doesn't have a thing. She's just been helping Jax figure out who all these people are. And so because they can't get in, the champions of Outworld are sent again by Shang Tsung, and he it's General something or other. I can't remember his name. He's got a sledgehammer, and he was the guy that was in Mad Max. I know that.
I don't know his name.
Already forgot the other guy.
You got Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn.
And then you have
I knew I was going to forget these names. I should have wrote them down.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Dude, the guy that's fast with blades and knows Kano. Cabal. That's right. And Goro. You're going to have Goro in the movie, put Goro in the movie, all right?
Yeah, but they did a better job with Goro CGI than they did in the first.
Well, the first one, he was a puppet.
Yeah, but he still looks stupid.
So, it was way more work and more stuff went into it, but he's a puppet, and they were limited. You know, they were on a shoestring budget back then. But I guess you can't have that character because it would cost, honestly, it just costs money to have him in the whole movie, a fully CGI animated Goro, which he looks great in this.
He looks beefier. It looks more like when you see him, you're like, you think back to the game, like when you saw like Motaro in the game, and was it they had like Motaro, like Kintaro, I think one of them. I think
so, yeah.
Goro, and then Shao Kahn, like you see them as like these big ass, like beyond Spartan type dudes, like just massive. So like when you see him in CGI, you're like, you know it's CGI, but looks way better.
Yeah. And also, Warner Brothers, if we're doing a sequel, don't make Shao Kahn just a dude. That's a terrible idea.
But I mean, I think that even in the second one, like as much as like I hate Annihilation, I'll still watch it when it comes on, just because I love Mortal Kombat. Yeah, but they did a good job with Shao Kahn, and I don't remember the dude's name. He played in a lot of like late 80s, early 90s movies. He was like a bodybuilder or something like that. But they did a really good job casting him as Shao Kahn. But I mean, who would you do with it now?
Yeah, I think
John Cena. Please don't.
No, he's doing much better stuff than this. And you know, there's the whole. Everybody starts developing their arcanas, and Cole's like, and then you know, Raiden is like, you know, just get. If you can't do it, just get out of here.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
And,
quit whining.
Poor little Cole's like, I'm just a little orphan boy from south side of Chicago. Obviously not, dude. If you've got a freaking birthmark, like just put in effort.
Yeah, own it.
So he goes back to his family, and then after like because he argues back and forth and blah blah blah, and then so the Outworld finally sends his champions to attack each of the characters individually. They send Goro after Cole. Melina goes after Sonya.
Cabal goes after Liu Kang.
Yeah, and then they convince Kano to take down the force field at this point. That's how they get in. So they all, so there's a big dust up, and then, our heroes are beaten down, and they lose the fight. And that's when Cole develops his Arcana, which, as we talked about earlier, it's a gold suit of armor that absorbs energy.
Aquaman.
He can materialize like a billy club and a billy club with a blade.
So bad.
I hope they don't put him in a game, which they probably are, because
they put everybody else in the game.
Yeah. And so everyone gets beat down. The temple gets Kung Lao has like a great fatality, which is what it is. The demon girl. What was her name?
I don't know, it's like Batgirl or something.
Yeah, she's got like wings.
Yeah. I don't even remember what character she was.
I had to look up these. I knew I should have wrote these names down because I was looking them up last night through the IMDb, and I was like, I know that character, but I don't know the name.
They weren't in the first 3.
Yeah.
First 3 games I ever played. Like I said, like after the first 3, it just kind of got like, okay, there's too many people.
The way he defeats Goro is pretty awesome, though. Yeah. Like he like breaks one of the arms. Mm-hmm. Goro just like straightens it back out.
I've done this before. Again,
and then like somehow like Cole figures out the powers. Like it can build up energy and he can generate it to somewhere else, and he just like uppercuts Goro real hard and stabs him in the eye. And then he finds his way back to the temple somehow. Mm-hmm. I guess Raiden just knew.
I'm just going to teleport you back.
Yeah, I'm going to bring you back.
Mm-hmm.
And they all try to get to this negative space or empty space because the demon bat lady gets killed. Kung Lao goes after Sang Shung. Sang Shung just
pushes him away. Your soul is mine. Mm-hmm. You know, soul suck, soul suck, soul suck.
Everybody goes in negative space. Oh, we got Cole.
It's time to fight.
And then him and Kano square off for a little bit, and then somehow Cole, I forget. I watched it all last night, but I forget how Cole just makes it into that space with him. I guess Raiden just finds a way to get him in there.
Probably brings him in somehow.
Yeah. So we're beaten down. We need to figure out what do we do? First of all, once they attacked or had that show of force the first time with my temple, I would have just brought everybody to this negative space if it was there.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't get in there,
right? You're already here. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, just like train in here. But I mean,
Well, then that also comes back to like the whole reason why you need to get Iconos. I think they could have figured out a better thing of doing that. But then that comes back to like we were saying earlier. Like I think they pieced the movie together instead of just making it a Sub-Zero Scorpion thing.
Yeah, like because there's the problem with this movie, which I know it sounds like I enjoyed this movie. Mm-hmm. I thought it was entertaining. It's not. It was what I expected it to be. I didn't expect it to be this grand, wonderfully made, well acted, great
Mortal
story.
Kombat.
Yeah, it's a great story. The story's already fucked to begin with.
Right.
But there's too many characters happening.
Yeah, and like I said, you're trying to like originally we'll go from like the first movie and the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody already had their powers. Everybody was already
as soon as they were chosen for the tournament.
Right. They already had all that. So you didn't really need like a kind of backstory for all these people. And you get like in the first movie, even like in this movie, Sonya Blade wasn't originally supposed to be there anyways.
Right.
Because in the first movie, she just decides that, hey, I'm going to go chase Kano now. Didn't know where she was going. She gets on the boat. Jax didn't follow. We know he's not going to be in it.
Yeah.
So and then they go to fight for a tournament. The second part is, or the second movie, again, everybody has all their stuff. And it's, they're cheating to get the win for them to take over. And it's like there's still a purpose in both of those movies. The second one, there's a purpose, but it's like not there.
The only purpose in the second movie really is, Shao Kahn's here.
Yep.
Oh no.
And it's like you're basically the purpose of them winning. Yeah, okay, cool. But it's like you're putting more into developing characters that shouldn't have been developed. Not in this movie. Again, like we've already said, it should have been the first of 2 characters and then go into a little bit more in depth. The second one should have been like the tournament thing. Like, hey, this is Mortal Kombat tournament of what's going to happen. Yeah, I think there was just trying too much for development of people versus actually just showing a movie.
Because honestly, to me, Scorpion has kind of always been the main character of Mortal Kombat, in my opinion.
I think Sub-Zero and Scorpion built it. Like it was, I think they're both heroes and villains.
Yeah.
And they I think if you look at it, they're what created the Mortal Kombat like franchise.
They're the faces of it.
Right. You're good. If you say Mortal Kombat, the first thing, I'm a Scorpion fan, or I'm Sub-Zero, I love it. Versus the other.
Yeah.
So.
Because it was like, oh, it's a blue and a yellow ninja.
Yeah.
That's all anybody saw.
I still love the first movie where he throws the gun. Like, step aside.
Yeah. We devised this plan that we're going to attack these people separately. So Sonya goes after Kano. Jax fights the general dude with the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know his name. Liu Kang fights Cabal. And who did Cole fights Melina.
Mm-hmm.
Who she did a very good job in this movie.
Again, psycho humor. I don't know. I mean, she's just. I think they did really. It's weird because they did really good at casting some characters versus others. And Melina, in a weird sick way, she's kind of hot in the movie. I don't know. And it just whatever. But like
she has that scene where she stabs Sonya in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And because she thinks she's a champion or whatever, she pulls out the blade and she like just by tasting the blood, she
could tell
you're not worthy of a death and just teleports out of there.
Right. Like this is I'm done.
And this was that girl's first movie. Like this is the first thing she's ever done. Well, she's probably been working, but this is like the first like high profile thing that she's done.
Yeah. But they did a good job. Her Cabal, man, I love Cabal, man. Just because he was funny, you know. I think he could have had more in it, but they did a good job with him. But then it's like some of the other characters, you're like, yeah, this sucks.
Cabal was definitely like a stunt actor and like somebody doing the voice of Cabal, though.
Yeah. But I mean, I liked it. But yeah, him. So then you have like them separating, which is always like the worst possible thing. Like, you know, it's funny because you see it in every movie to where like, especially like when you have a group and they split up, everybody's going to get their ass kicked. You know, it's going to happen. It does it in every movie. And it's like, you would think that they would figure, and I guess it does that whole, it'll bring them back stronger type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's kind of irritating because you're like, you know, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But gotta have the storyline.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I guess that was their way of saying, sorry, we didn't actually have a tournament in this.
Right.
So here's an extended montage of like 1v1.
Right.
On pretty, I guess some of those are stages, like different fights. I don't really pay attention to the fight stages when I play Mortal Kombat. But they look like, you know, they could take place in one of those things. So Sonya and Kano, she hides under her house and Kano's looking for her. Mm-hmm. She's like coming up through the floor, stabbing him in the ankle, stabbing him here, stabbing him there.
Ankle biter.
Yeah. Then he figures out she's in the floor and comes up out and they fight in the bathroom. He chokes her. They end up outside. She stabs him with the garden gnome.
The one he split on.
Yeah. And then she gets the thing. Liu Kang, the fire dragon, punch the ground dragon. I love it.
Yeah, you can see Liu Kang doing that like in the old his old fatalities and stuff. Yeah,
and he does the flying through the air kick thing that he does.
What was it? Butterfly? No, butterfly. The
bicycle kick.
Bicycle kick.
Yeah, does that, and then Jax with his big Jax gets his Arcana with the big metal arms. He saves Sonya. It's dumb.
Right. Which you knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
Secretly, they love each other.
It was in the trailer. Like, he's got the big metal arms. The way he kills that guy is pretty awesome, though. Like, I think he breaks the thing, the sledgehammer, and just
smacks his head.
I'm like, it's
a good way to go.
Yeah. We're left with Cole and Melina. Cole's struggling a little bit. She's teleporting all over the place. Chink, 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 chink. Can't get a hold of her. Uh-oh, here comes Sonya. Which did you see Shang-Chi and Legend of Ten Rings this year? No. Okay, well, the bad guy in that, which is Shang-Chi's dad, has 10 rings, and they're on his wrist, and he can.
Yeah.
These movies were probably in the same form of production, but the way that, you know, she's got those purple like. It looks exactly like that in Shang-Chi, but they're like yellow.
Well, I mean, she had them in the game. It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
To where she had them, but she already had the power. She had the powers, but like she had, I think it was same squarish style, boxy
Yeah.
orbs. No, they were round.
Yeah.
They weren't square.
Yeah. But if anybody that is listening to this saw Shang-Chi, that's what her little wrist blasters look like. And straight out of like a Mortal Kombat 10 or 11, blasts Melina right through the stomach, and just like you can see rib cage and a little organ comes down through there. It's great.
It's like, oh, you're dead now.
And then after all that, out through this little puff of smoke comes Sub-Zero. He's kidnapped Cole's family and has a little bracelet that his daughter made or whatever. And Cole acts emotionally and runs right into the trap that Sub-Zero has set in his, I guess it's the gym from the beginning of the movie.
Fight,
yeah.
Another little ice world that he creates.
He's had time to make that. Yeah. So I'll give him a pass on that. So Cole stupidly tries to fight Sub-Zero because their whole plan was to all of them fight Sub-Zero together because they knew that no one person could take him down. Cole holds his own for a little bit.
Right.
He's, taking some shots, giving some shots.
Well, he's gotten good at getting his ass kicked.
That's true, yeah. So he pulls out the blade. Raiden gave him the little garden plow. Mm-hmm. And so he tries to get him with that. Sub-Zero gets it. He cuts his hand, and then it lights on fire, and he's like, well, that's
odd.
Well, I think he even says that's the blood of Hanzo Hasashi or whatever, and then we hear the chain fly through the air, and ching, dun, 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 dun. The best dance track of the 90s. And it's the only English words that Scorpion says in this movie. Get over here! It's in the trailer. It's awesome. I love it.
You see, it's like. And that, like you were saying earlier, like the fight scene between him and Jax, like Sub-Zero and Jax.
Yeah.
That fight scene between Scorpion and him, like, I was looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Like, seeing them face off and everything, and it was like.
They released too much of that online, I think.
Yeah, they did. Like, everybody saw it, and that's. Then didn't you have to, like, pay, like, $5 or something to, like, see it on HBO Max? But it was all on YouTube. Yeah. So you could see pretty much the whole fight, like, in segments of it, anyways. But it was like. I thought that was a pretty badass fight for those two. Like, it could have been longer. It could have been more longer.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been more intense, but...
Sub-Zero has the best moments, really. Like, he cuts him in the side, the blood flies up, he turns that into ice and just stabs him with it. Like, getting stabbed with your own blood. What is that?
Well, that ice sword was cool, too, because you see it, like, he goes...
Yeah.
And I'm just like, ooh.
And then, like, another fatality from the games, he just builds up an ice wall and just throws him through it. Yep. It's great.
And then he does that like ice mimic too, where like he mimics himself.
Yeah, like when Sub-Zero, like
clone.
Scorpion, like throws him into the cage at some point, and he's down, and then Scorpion's coming, he turns like himself into an ice duplicate and backs up. That's in the game. So Scorpion just looks at Cole, and I guess he just knows that that's his family, and he's like, for the Chi-Ra Ryu, and I would have been like, what? Who?
Grandpappy.
Our heroes they take down Sub-Zero, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Like, you were seeing them work together, like, to do it. And
yeah,
what gets me though is like you see Sub-Zero in the buildup of Sub-Zero, and then in the first part of it, you're like, all right, cool. So badass dude. Mm-hmm. Then you get to like in between where he's just like walking around doing his little walk. I mean, it's kind of weird. It just his little swagger walk, I guess is what you call it. I don't know. And then at the end, you see him like fighting, and that's why I said like I think it could have been more intense because like I think the way they put him down was just like towards the end, it was just like, man, I want to see some more like brawling here between these. Like I want to see like the badass dude I saw fighting Jax. I want to see that
right
now. Which
with any big Hollywood movie, you always leave room for a sequel.
True.
Because Shang Tsung makes the point of saying death is just another process.
Well, he comes back as Noob Saibot. That's what Sub-Zero is.
That's right.
So Sub-Zero, as far as you have Sub-Zero, and then I guess in the storylines or whatever, Sub-Zero has a brother that also does the ice shit as well. And then Sub-Zero comes back as Noob Saibot, who was the creator's name backwards.
Right.
And he comes back as like a little smoke
And I think even in like
Yeah.
the original story of the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the original Sub-Zero does attack Scorpion's family and kill Scorpion's family, and he
Right.
spends all that time in hell thinking about vengeance, and then he comes back to fight Sub-Zero, but it's this new Cybot character, and it's not the original Sub-Zero. He's like,
And
what
it's
the
not
hell
even
are you talking about?
And then Sub-Zero's not like, I'm not even that guy anymore. It's
Right,
like, and then the brother's not even like the original Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
He's like peace, love, and harmony Sub-Zero. now.
Right, yeah.
He's like, I don't
do that no more.
I'm not about that life.
So, Warner Brothers, in the sequel, more Scorpion and Sub-Zero fights, please. Basically, the next movie is going to be the tournament. If they make them, which I think I was reading something last night that this was the most streamed movie on HBO Max last year.
Yeah.
So, they're maybe.
But it'll be another 5, 6, 7 years, and people will be like, I don't know. Like,
I'd probably give it 3 years.
I don't know. I mean, I guess now with the streaming thing, it makes it easier for them to release movies, and you have more people watching, I guess, from home and stuff like that. So I guess it's easier. You're not having to put as much into it,
Yeah.
and you're not having, I guess, worry about the overhead.
Yeah.
So you can put more money into production,
Yeah.
and I guess they show that the fan base is still there for it. Like, I mean, you got to realize every time Mortal Kombat comes out on a game, everybody's buying that game.
Yeah.
And so I think it needs to be more focused on the characters that are already there instead of trying to create more.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to do a tournament, like you said, do a tournament and actually do it to where you put more involvement in the battle scenes or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I think the movie was a great movie. It was just, I think it was overthought. Just go simple. Like, I mean, when I first started playing the games, like, it didn't take a lot of extravagance on my part to in the game to like draw me into it. Versus,
it's just like cool looking people fighting. That's all you need. Same thing with Tekken. Tekken's wild. There's a guy with a jaguar head.
I used to murder people at the arcades, man. I would sit there like the $1 movie theater. I would sit there and like my little brother and my dad would go watch a movie, and I would sit there and play Tekken for like 2 hours straight, just beating people on Tekken. And I was like, hey, it is what it is.
But the last shot of the movie is, they decided to collect all the champions of Earth now. So they're Cole's on this mission to go find these new people. And who do they decide to bring in? One of the worst characters in Mortal Kombat, Johnny Cage.
Yep.
Because Cole's going out to L.A. to find Johnny Cage.
Well, they had in the first movie, I liked Johnny Cage just because it was. He's a movie star or whatever, but he was still, I guess, like the first movie, it wasn't overdone for Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
And then I even watched the webisodes where they were talking, like, he was showing like how they did Reptile and like Baraka. And that fight with Baraka and Johnny Cage where Baraka ends up killing Johnny Cage. Yeah. That shit was tight. I loved it.
Yeah.
So if they was to do something like that to where, they don't over like, oh, it's Johnny Cage.
Because they put too much importance on Johnny Cage, in my opinion. Now, in the animated movie, he's voiced by Joe McHale, and he does a really good job. So maybe possible casting choice, but that's Mortal Kombat. Bobby, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, man. I liked it. It was fun.
We'll probably do it again if we think of something else. And for me, I will see you next week. If you have a suggestion for a movie you'd like to hear me talk about and me or somebody else talk about, you can send an email to secondtakemoviespod@gmail.com. And you can find us on all the social medias at Second Take Movies.